All right. Happy Friday, everybody. This week we are trying a slightly shorter format, but we're going to talk about something that got me curious as we've started to look at some of our clients' performance over the last year. And what we saw was something that looks like this when we charted their total sales or their total leads in black, right? It works for B2B, it works for B2C, it's the same. And then our ad spend by month, right? Our digital spend. And you can see there's a pretty strong correlation between revenue, leads, and ad spend. But what you can also see is there are some periods during the year. In this case, for this e-commerce brand, they ran a very large sale in home services in around March and April. Typical, put your home on the market slash buy a home time. So that's what this is right here. And then in Q4 again, when they're focusing, September, October, November, December, which is the second largest home buying period, but also a period where people are often getting into a home, making a home improvement before the winter, finding out an issue, trying to resolve it before things get cold. So you have these two periods here where you have these big increases, and you'll notice the correlation diverges, right? The digital spend increases, but not that much. And this is what got me thinking and curious, and the topic I wanted to talk about this week, which is what's going on during these moments. And number one, and then number two, what should we take away from this? And then three is how do we do more of it, right? So typically, I've then looked back at the rest of our marketing activities and our marketing playbooks and what was happening for these clients during this time. So number one, there is existing demand in the marketplace, right? These are moments where people are ready and primed and eager and conditioned to buy. Whether, again, lead, sale, doesn't matter, same thing applies, right? If you're in B2B, you know that at the end of the year, starting in Q4, and then again in April, May, for those companies operating on a fiscal that ends June 31, people are ready and conditioned to search for new partners, to look for new vendors, to reevaluate some of their marketing or their software or their technology contracts, right? You know that's the case. There is existing demand in the marketplace. There is an expectation that things are going to be done at a certain time. Same thing is true for e-com, where we all know Q4 is the Super Bowl, but we also know that oftentimes there's spring sales or end of year or Easter or Valentine's Day or what have you. So the question number one is, well, where else is there existing demand that maybe isn't being captured? And this is where I think it's really helpful to look at your competitors and start to see, okay, well, what are they capitalizing on? Number one. And then number two, do your audience research and understand what kind of cycles are they on? You might have to actually interview customers. Like, hey, when else did you notice you needed X? When else were you thinking about Y, right? You might find out that, surprisingly, the best time for fitness is January, right? New year, new you. Everybody wants to look good, but that lasts for about 3 weeks. And then we all get off that gym train because it's not fun to go to the gym in January. But the second most popular time tends to be in spring, because that's when everyone's booked their trip to the beach and they realize they want to look good for the beach. Let's be positive. So you end up with people that are going, right, more people signing up for the gym, going back to the gym, re-engaging with their fitness routine in March and April because they've just booked a trip for the summer and they're like, well, I need to be looking my beach best. Hence, you get people going back. That's a non-traditional time, right? There is not a lot of marketing happening there. So this to me says, well, there might be another moment that we could make if we have that data and if we have a campaign. And that leads me to three, if we have other marketing. So when I look back at these periods for this particular brand, we had other marketing that was happening during these times that was then shut off during these times, right? We had TV, we had radio, we had billboards, all these things running to support the big sale, to support Q4, that were then pulled back. So this tells me another thing, right? There is value in other marketing, even if it's not immediately quantifiable. If you plot your digital spend, your performance spend, and then you look at your sales and you chart those moments, you'll see that in the moments that you're supporting with PR or billboards or TV or direct mail, there's a divergence in what you'd expect, right? Performance marketing does better, but not that much better. And the answer is, well, this other stuff works too. So we have to figure out and isolate which of those other marketing tactics work best. And you can do that via holdout testing. You can do it via customer surveys, though they're imperfect. And then 3 is, how do we put 2 and 2 together? How do we then find more moments where either A, your audience is already primed to buy, they're already feeling a natural trigger, and there is existing demand that we can latch onto, right? Existing holidays, existing moments, existing tendencies or trends that you can capitalize on, or demand that you can create. And obviously the gold standard of that is Small Business Saturday, which American Express did. It's Prime Day or Prime Day 2, whichever one Amazon made. Those are examples where people they've actually created a moment around their entire calendar. But the point from a marketer should be, number 1, find out the gaps where you can create a moment, understand where there might be some non-traditional demand that's going uncaptured by looking at your competitors, seeing what they're doing, and then talking to your audience and finding when they're thinking about doing this. And then start to isolate your other marketing that you're doing for the existing moments you have and figure out, okay, well, what am I doing? And then if I do some of these things, hold out some, do some, what's the impact? It takes time, but then you can start to identify the highest potential channels and say, okay, well, if I know this channel really, really works consistently, maybe I integrate that into my evergreen plan versus just doing it for the big moment, for the big sale at the Q4. Right? There's a lot we can do in marketing to think bigger than just a ads dashboard, just a website. And I think it's time for marketers to take that step back and say, you know what, doing the blue line is cool. Understanding how the black line works is what's going to get you promoted and get your company to the next level. So let's spend more time doing that. That's all for this week. We'll talk to you later.